What's up, it's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm back here at the Carlisle Ford Nationals in Pennsylvania, and we have a very, very special car. This is a 2000 Cobra R, a Ford Cobra R, one of just 300. And back during Y2K, guess what? At that time, this was the fastest Mustang ever produced. But before we dive into this special car, let's talk a little history about what this car represents. So when you hear Cobra, a lot of people associate that with Carroll Shelby and the 427 Cobras or the 289 Cobras. This Cobra R is a Mustang that started off life just like any other Mustang GT, and Ford took it to another level. Underneath the hood, special to this car is a 5.4 liter dual overhead cam V8 with a massive intake plenum. You're looking at well over 300 horsepower, about 380 horsepower, 380 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60, Motor Trend got 0 to 60 out of this car in 4.4 seconds. Now, what's unique about this car, being an R, you basically had to have either a racing license or a race team, because this car is not street legal, was not intended for street purpose use. So let's go ahead, dive into this 2000 Cobra R and see, really is it one of the most iconic Mustangs of all time. Right off the bat, Sn95 chassis, the Sn95 chassis. Really love the design that we were going. Headlight housing, you could see during this time period, everything was about a little bit more rounded. Now, Fox body seemed a little bit more boxy of a shape. That was the previous generation. That ended in 1993. The first year of the Sn95 chassis was 1994, and it went all the way to 2004. So you can see what we're working with that rounded headlight design. These, I hope you like red. It was only available, all 300 were available in this color only. So I hope you like red. Down below, you can see how they took out the headlight, the fog lamps, and actually made these functional brake cooling ducts and this massive front splitter. So you have these Zeus Fasteners here where you could remove this off the car, but this is how it came from the factory to give you maximum downforce, because they wanted this to be track specific. They wanted to be track used. The way they just hollowed out the whole front grille, kept that pony there, that Mustang logo, because remember, this is a Mustang Cobra R going up onto the hood. This hood is specific to this car. It's made out of fiberglass. You could see the stepped rake system that they have, because underneath that hood is an intake plenum the size of 3 footballs. And because of that, they needed to get some extra rise. I love the lines, the great shape to it. It's not meant to be a cowl induction hood or anything like that. It's meant to be able to fit that massive intake plenum. Now, as we come around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tire setup. You can see how that massive front splitter wraps all the way around the corner. These are Zeus Fasteners. What that means is you take a screwdriver, you give it a quarter turn, pops out, you could take off that front splitter and lickety split. Now when we get, and that's no pun intended, or banana split, when we're talking about the wheel and tire setup on this, so you're looking at 18-inch wheels, these center caps here with the Cobra and the R specific, obviously, to this car. You got the 4-piston Brembo calipers, 13-inch rotor, really showing what the technology was at the time. I know today you look at, say, a Shelby GT350R, you're gonna have a massive 6-piston caliper and all that kind of great stuff, but this is what we were working with braking capability. 275, so up front you're getting a lot of sticky rubber, 275 on the width, 35 series sidewall. Of course, under all 4 corners you're gonna have special springs, dampers, anti-roll bars, everything to turn those fast lap times at the track. Coming down the fender, you'll notice the Cobra badge, such an iconic badge, but this does not have any association with Carroll Shelby. You'll also notice this block-off plate. Normally there's an antenna that extends from the fender there. This is radio delete, air conditioning delete, rear seat delete, and it has Recaro racing seats for the year 2000. Now, as we come down the side, you can see with this setup, like I was saying, it's actually 385 horsepower. So I was off by 5 horsepower and 5 pound-feet of torque, but you're looking at 385. Flat black on the mirror caps. On the inside, you can see those special Cobra R Recaro racing seats, the 5-speed manual transmission, and everything else is just what you need for the track. We're missing the back seat. And then as we come to this rear area, you do have this fake vent here. I am gonna zonk that. I wish they, especially for this being a track car, they could have made this for some rear brake cooling.
maybe even bring some air for the rear differential. But what I do like is that you have these nice slash cut side exhausts, gonna let that 5.4 liter really scream, especially around the track. I'm gonna say it again, in 2000, this was the fastest Mustang ever produced. As we come towards the rear, one of my favorite parts is this massive wing. Now you may look at that and say, oh, what are you gonna do? Dry your laundry on it or maybe hang your clothes? This tabletop style of a rear wing is meant for one thing, and that's to produce downforce. So you have these actual diagonal pedestal mounts to it, massive rear wing from the factory. So this is a car from the factory. This is how it came. As we drop down, you'll see the style on the Sn95 chassis for the rear lights. And then this rear bumper area, very unique to this particular car. Now, one thing that's very hard to show is that this actually doesn't have a fuel tank. It's got a fuel cell. What that means is that when you're on a racetrack, most race cars have fuel cells. All race cars have fuel cells. What that means is that there's a box back here, a very large box, a tank. Inside the tank is foam. When you fuel up the car and take it out on the track, that foam is gonna do two different things. First of all, it's gonna try to negate sloshing of fuel. Because remember, when you're going around a track and you're going left and right, that you don't want the weight of the fuel sloshing around out back. That can mess up the balance of the car. Another reason is that if you happen to wreck your Cobra R, which I feel very, very sorry for you if you do, that's actually gonna help keep the fuel in the fuel cell rather than spill out if you have a ruptured tank. If you have a ruptured tank, fuel's gonna come out, it could ignite and blow up. That's gonna help with safety. But with this car being so unique, here's another fun fact for you. Recently at Indianapolis for the Mecum Auto Show, a Cobra R, still in the wrapper with like 60 miles or something crazy like that, sold for about $69,000. Let me put that in perspective for you. Back in 2000, I was 2 years out of college. This car you could buy, if you had a racing license or a race team, you could buy for around $40,000 to $45,000. So you could see that the value on this car is growing, and people are starting to learn and say, hey, Sn95 chassis, there's lots of great examples. Everybody thinks Terminator, that's all I hear. This is one of those cars that, first of all, one of 300, so that means you're pretty much never gonna see it. Second of all, this was so specific for the track that it wasn't really meant for the road, which even makes it more special. And having those other touches, the Recaro racing seats, having that different intake plenum and that different engine setup, because remember, if you look at, say, previous Cobra Rs, and for example, I'm gonna kind of pivot here, we have two of the older Cobra R models here. This one is the one with the dual overhead cam engine. The other one has the pushrod, those Windsor pushrod V8 engines, and that's what really helps make it special as well, being that dual overhead cam V8, because today, fast forward to 21st century, that's what the Mustang GT has. It has an overhead cam V8, which allows it to scream. This car is a screamer. You're gonna get the grip, you get those bright silver wheels. There are people that go and try to find these. They're so expensive, but boy, do they look good. And you have those familiar names that we know today. A lot of people, Recaro for the racing seats and Brembo for the braking package. Really, really shows what the ingenuity was of the Ford engineers at this time. So glad this car is here, because being around, obviously, in the year 2000, looking at this in magazines, I saw it on Motor Week. Now I get to see it in person. This is the first time, that's how rare this car is. And you know I've been around a lot of cars. This is the first time I've ever seen a 2000 Cobra R in person, and it's here at the Ford Nationals in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. But if it's these performance Mustangs that you want to keep seeing, especially rare performance Mustangs, you can see the people walking around it. We're here. This is a general admission day. We're fighting the crowds to bring it to you. If these are the types of cars you want to keep seeing on Rated Rise, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new and you're on your way out, hit the subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Rated Rise family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you on the channel, Click the link in the description, get yourself some Ready's Rides merch. What do we do with some of those funds? We come to events like this one, the Carlisle Ford Nationals. We got to give it up to my wonderful wife, production manager, videographer, and just all around great, amazing person. My wife, Lori, show her some love in the comments. She's loving Mustangs. She is thinking maybe a Mustang for her. We'll have to see where that road takes us, but thank you for all your hard work. And like I said, show her some love in that comment section. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.